I'm a Zulu woman from the lineage of King Shaka. My great-great-great-grandfather is King Bande, who was a half-brother to King Shaka. Yes, I come from that lineage. My full names are Gwalisile Cynthia, and my maiden surname is Zulu, and I'm married to a Xhosa guy by the name of Gwalisile Kabanyane. Yes. I come from the lineage of the Zulu kings, as you can see here. But this one, King Shaka, is worldwide known as the father of the Zulu nation. He is the person who made it possible that we have the Zulus as a well-known nation all over the world. Yes, so I come from this lineage. King Tetwayo is the elder brother of my great grandfather, Prince Ndabuko. So I come from that lineage. So the current king, King Gwalisile Zulu, we are one blood. Yes. And then Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi as well. He's my first cousin. Yes. And I studied for my major, let's say, degrees. I studied in Canada. I did my master's degree at the University of New Brunswick. Yes, in Canada, and I did my doctorate in applied psychology, focusing on the study of qualitative study, where I was investigating the lives of women living in the squatter settlements and the role of informal counseling, in supporting them. Yes, that I did at the University of Toronto, also in Canada. Yes.
So currently, what are you doing now in terms of profession?
Right now I'm self-employed. Let me put it that way. And I'm also running my organization, which I founded 2006, which is called Kolotani Makosikazi Social and Cultural Services. I'm a founder and a managing director as well. Yes, it's grounded, it's based on Ubuntu. We are offering charity services to the elders, and our focus area is Mbekweni Township. Yes. It keeps me busy, and I also do part-time lecturing at the CPUT, yes, here in Cape Town. Yes, I'm also a board member for IDT, Independent Development Trust, which is a government parastatal that is working closely with the Department of Public Works.
So how is the youth? Are they at least participating in your programs?
Yes, they do. Recently we had funding from the lottery as Kolotani Makosikazi Social and Cultural Services. And that funding was specifically for the promotion of arts and culture in Mbekweni Township. That is why we managed to have, for the first time in Mbekweni, we organized successfully, I must say, a Heritage Day that was attended by more than 1,000 people. And we did that in partnership as well with the schools of Mbekweni. Yes, so the youth is part and parcel of my programs.
So what is the response of women in general in Paarl? Because I know in the 80s that you could see that women were involved in sort of political organization and social organization. What are they doing these days in relation to your programs and so on?
Well, the main beneficiaries of Kolotani Makosikas as an organization. It's mainly women. And they are taught lots of skills, like doing beadworks, like doing other forms of craft. And also they have a play that they are playing which focuses on the forced marriage that some of them went through in their lifetime. So we are, and lots of the participants, as I'm saying, are women. Yes, so women appreciate, and I guess women, they still show that they do have a role in promoting what is culturally valuable, all cultural values, yes. And wherever we have meetings or events that are promoting culture, you'll find out that the main people who attend are women. Yes, we do have men, but it's mainly women. Yes, the born teachers of the nation. Yes, yes.
So, the like we know these days that it is a general issue of violence in terms of domestic violence and violence against children and so on. How do you have programs of that nature within your?
In our programs, we do address such issues. Like last year, we were in partnership with the MRC, Medical Research Council. Yes, and they were giving workshops, particularly focusing on that, on xenophobia and violence against women and children. And also, in my culture, you know, violence, abusing women was never heard of. It was a shame for a man to abuse what we normally call a weaker sex, or weaker gender, you know, to be politically correct. Yes, it was unheard of. A man who was found to be doing that, you know, he became the subject of the whole community. And the political structures that were there then, the Nkosi and the chiefs and whatever, Indunas, headmen, that man would be called to order, and that man was fined. And the fine was not just money, it was like giving a cow, paying by giving a cow, yes, cleansing the name of all men. Because when you did that, you were an embarrassment to all manhood. Yes.
So how do you see the people in the various communities? Because in Paarl, I know that there's the colored communities, there's white communities, and so on, there's black communities. How is their participation, and how do they view your organization, given that it's trying to bring this kind of awareness in the community?
Well, in most of the engagements that I'm normally invited to attend as a guest speaker, well, I normally have, you know, all races presented. It's not just the black people. So whenever I get a chance to talk about such issues that are demeaning our culture, I do speak to all races, all racial groups. Yes.
Yeah, I know that in the Western Cape, for example, like it's very rare to see sort of people who are more concentrating on cultural issues, like I know from in Natal, you find people who are taking girls to, let's say, for example, Memulo and all this
and
kind of
things,
and read dance and so on. And I know in the Western Cape you see certain few families who does that. Is it your how do you see Western Cape in terms of that kind of gatherings and so on?
You know, to be honest, Western Cape is a very complicated, difficult province when it comes to like selling my culture,
Yeah.
it won't be that easy.
Yeah.
Because
They don't.
the culture that we have here, even for the black people, it's mainly amaXhosa.
Yeah.
And the things that you've just mentioned, umemulo, you know, that is coming out of age of a girl,
Yeah.
the red dance, where we emphasize the importance of maintaining virginity until you get married. Those things are more prominent in KwaZulu-Natal. They are more prominent in that territory. So as much as I would love to introduce such, but it's my Zulu culture, and I might be misinterpreted as someone who is trying to, you know, maybe dilute or whatever other people's culture. But the key values of our culture are the same. Now the issue is, how do you try and impact other people, you know, in maintaining those values, the values of Ubuntu, the values of respecting yourself, the values of giving, because all those things are part of our culture. The values of knowing that the other person is created by God, and that person is not different from any, irrespective of your class background. So those are the values that, should we be given a platform to promote, it will be great. Yes. They will promote even social cohesion. Yes.
Yeah, because I know, for example, KwaXhosa, they've got this thing, kuthomba, for example.
Yes.
Which I think is more or less what we call moon, I think.
No, Uktomba, it's when the girl gets her first menstruation.
Okay.
Yes. It's called Uktomba.
Was in Venda it's called Domba, no? I think they call it like.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
Now I've seen it in the areas like of Eastern Cape and so on, but it's not more prominent like in the Western Cape and how people do cultural practices in the side.
It's just that all stages that a girl, you know, goes through before she gets married. Yes. So it will help you a lot. I recommend that you read it in terms of the questions you're asking. But with the Xhosa people, the main culture, treasure is that of the boys going to the mountain. You know, which we don't have in our culture. Our culture, the emphasis is more on the girl child than here. Here, from my observation, the main emphasis that is culturally based is more on the boys. Yes.
Now I heard that you wanted to talk around your videos. Is it also entails the information around the
Yes, it says crossing rivers of womanhood. So it talks mainly about the traditional rites of passage of a Zulu girl, all those phases. It talks about pregnancy and the birth of the first child. What happens? Who is responsible? How is the pregnancy reported? Because in our culture, those years, when your wife got pregnant, she would not go straight to you and say, "Daddy," or "Baby," or "Sweetheart, I'm pregnant." But the protocol demanded that she reported her pregnancy first to the mother-in-law. Yes. And then it talks also about the upbringing of a girl child, the beginning of menstruation, which you've just mentioned, Uktomba. It talks about coming of age of a girl, which we call in isiZulu umemulo. Yes, and then it talks about courtship and traditional dating of the Zulu girl. You know, it's not about sending SMSs, WhatsApp, Facebook, but it used to follow a certain process for a girl to even tell you that she loves you. You know, and then it also talks about asking for a hand in marriage. And then lastly, it talks about the traditional wedding, which in isiZulu we call udwendwe. Yes, yes, yes. And then it's a booklet, and then there's a DVD that was reenacted in Nongoma, where I'm from. Yes.
Okay. I think that's a kind of information because some people will learn from that.
Yes.
And I also see that we've got also books on this side.
Yes, I've got books.
Yeah.
I wanted to show you that this book is about the Zulu treasures.
Okay.
In isiZulu we say amagugu kwaZulu,
KwaZulu.
things that are very important to us, that are our treasures, things that we can never, sort of whatever you call it, we can't trade off because they are ours, they are our treasures. Like the cows. The cows are still very important to us. You use the cows to pay lobola. You sell the cows to get money to educate your children. The cows are used to find the evildoers, so to speak, or the culprits and whatever. It has got the utensils that were used when presenting food, like the wooden platters. It has got the traditional attire, what the men wore, amabeshu, what the women wore that those days, which they still do, what the girl wore and all that.
And what I've noticed also, some of the skins of the coming from different cows and so on.
Most of our attire, it's made out of the cow's hide. Yes. So you are correct. Yes. So the Zulu culture for me, it's still the culture that needs to be really promulgated and needs to be marketed, because it has got lots of lessons in
to learn.
Ubuntu. Yes.
So you're saying then your lineage comes from Nkosipali.
Yes.
And then from there it goes to, who was the next king?
It was, here we've got the list of all the kings.
Okay.
So it was King Bande, and then after King Bande, it was King Cetshwayo, the one who is well known for fighting with the British army. They were about 3,000, and the Zulu army was just a small number, but because of his military, military skills, managed to defeat all those platoons, coming to them charging with firearms, but they were defeated by just Asekas. Yes. And then after King Cetshwayo is an elder brother of my great granddad, Prince Ndaboko. Yes. And then after that it's Dinezulu. Yes, and after that it's Phumzu Zulu, Bheki Zulu, the father to the current king.
Prince Gwalisile, where does he fit?
He fits also from all this lineage. Yes,
okay.
All this lineage. He comes from this from we all the Zulu princes and princesses. They come from the lineage of King Bande. Because if you remember from the history books and from oral history, the King Shaka did not like kids. He never liked children, and he never got married. So he did have girlfriends, who were called concubines. But those were, whenever he impregnated one, he would pass that pregnant woman to his brother, half-brother, King Bande. Because King Bande was known for liking women. Polygamy then was not an issue. Actually, it showed, it sort of displayed the man's wealth. the number of wives, the number of cows, the piece of land, and all that.
Yeah.
And I'm a living example of polygamy.
Yeah.
Not that my father married 2 wives, or just only my mom.
Yeah.
But my grandfather, Prince Nyaiza Kandabuko Kampande, my grandfather had 44 wives, 44, and 20 official girlfriends.
Who were known?
They were called official girlfriends because their sisters who were married to my grandfather, when they enjoyed, being princesses in that household, they would go back and fetch their sisters to come and join them. So those girlfriends were officially known as official girlfriends of the prince.
Okay.
Yes, yes. And that alone, I asked one of my grandmothers who was alive when I wrote one of the books, I don't have it here. I asked how did they manage, to share one man, being 44 of them. But he said, no, it was easy because they were taught respect from where they came from. And you never heard of any divorces and all that. They were like a family, just a big family. And then I asked them about the intimacy. How did that happen? Then my grandmother told me that, no, to your grandfather, we were like all sorts of meals. We were like breakfast, lunch, and supper. And you can call anyone anytime you wanted to enjoy some form of intimacy.
Yeah.
And they did understand that.
So do you say today, is it because when people talk negatively about polygamy, is it because maybe the time, or is it because of the material issues that makes people to talk negative, or is it because of not understanding? I
guess understanding, not understanding it forms a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And also the change in socially and economically, things have changed.
Yes.
It's no longer, those days no one worked actually. People were working the land. They were plowing, they had heads of all forms of, yes, of flock. So, but now it's different. Everything we have to pay for. So I don't think it's possible to maintain. It's very difficult for some men even to maintain one wife.
One wife, yeah.
What about more than one?
Yeah.
So the cost of living has gone very, very high. So it's difficult. Yes. And also in terms of diseases as well,
yes.
I don't think it's really the risk that some people really would love to take these days. Hence they speak negatively about polygamy.
Do you think that maybe in some of the platforms that we maybe get, maybe as a national issue, to discuss this kind of thing, so that people can understand that from a cultural background where we come from, how these things were practiced and how it is today? Do we still need that kind of a platform where we talk openly around this?
On the issues of polygamy?
Yeah.
Well, I think because people are still practicing it.
Yes.
So when it's something in practice, it's worth talking about.
Yeah.
But the people who can give you more insight, in-depth knowledge are the people who are in that situation.
Our practice.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Like our president, like our Zulu king, and many more who are still practicing polygamy.
Because I think at one stage there was the Swati king as well.
And the Swati king and other kings.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Yes, for them there is nothing wrong with it. And they grew up, within such environments.
Yeah.
So there is nothing amiss.
Yeah.
Because even with my father, when I spoke to him about being part of the polygamous relationship,
Yeah.
you know, because of her mother
Yeah.
and her father, it was something that was well appreciated. It taught them Ubuntu, it taught them to share, it taught them to love one another. Yes, yes, and to respect one another. So there was nothing wrong with it, although, well, he did say to me, it did have its ups and downs.
Ups and downs.
Yes,
Yeah.
like any relationship, like normal relationship that, you know, we do have ups and downs.
Yeah.
Yes.
I believe you say you were here, came to the Cape or to Paarl in 2008.
Yes.
So how did you find this place, given that you were coming from KwaZulu-Natal?
Well, let me just say, it's still, this place is still giving me lots to learn about. You know, it's not an easy province because of its human makeup. Yes, yes. And people here, they still live in silence.
In silence.
Yeah. It's still there. It's still tangible. You know, that I'm a black person. I'm an African. You are a colored. You are a white person. It's still there. And in some places, the way people look at you, it's like, who is this one? You know. So it's still there. It's still there. You still experience it now and again. Although personally, it's something I would wish not to experience, you know, not to see, not to observe. Because as Mandela put it, we are a rainbow nation. We just have to learn to accept, love, you know, embrace one another as a nation and as people who are created by one God. We have the same spiritual DNA, which goes a long way. Yes. We still have within the Xhosa people here, the elders who can be consulted to give indigenous information. For example, there is this Mrs. Johnson, we call Makulu. She once told me that when she joined the church, the elders of the church used to check her if she was still a virgin and all that. So there are things that are similar, but they are not as nobody, you know, addresses them as the Zulus do. Yeah. So I think if you can organize a group of elders, then you'll be able to get more information with regard to the Xhosa indigenous practices. Yes.
So, ma'am, I'm not sure whether you want to maybe talk about something else or maybe in relation to culture now. So I'll give you that platform if you still want to elaborate on something.
Actually, I just want to say it's heartwarming to be sitting here and talking about my culture, because culture is the basis of self-respect, and which leads to other people's respect. So if we encourage culture, and I just hope that what you are doing is not going to end up here, it will lead to you as an institution, you know, getting more information and abstracting the value of that information, the values that can still be instilled to the younger ones. Our kids are lost. There is so much drug abuse, early pregnancy. Those things did not happen when people were observing their cultures. So probably maybe if we can go back to teaching, even in schools, about culture and the importance of culture and the values attached to, maybe we can see some change. Who knows? But some things are worth trying. Yes.
No, it's true. It's true because, like these days, we can, like we have said that amongst the causes, the issue of initiation, boys go to the mountain and so on. That was meant to instill a sense of responsibility, a sense of self-respect and dignity when you come back and make sure that you have a meaningful contribution in society as an adult.
Yes.
Of which the time and the period that we find ourselves in, it's like our youngsters doesn't follow that kind of discipline that we try to instill.
My problem again is that the focus is during that period.
Yeah. There is no
I have boys, and by virtue of my husband being a Xhosa, they undergo this initiation. But I so wish if there was kind of a school for this, even before they go, you know, where they are being prepared for that, and after that as well. And I wish there were ways of monitoring and evaluating whether the teachings, the values that are instilled while they are there, you know, those in the mountains, do they really come back home and practice them? Is there any value that they attach to their new gained status of being adult and men? I'm not sure, because from what I see, if you visit the Drakenstein, the prisoners, lots of these boys, and some of them are newly initiated who have just came back from the mountains, but they end up, you know, in correctional services. So I think it really needs to be crafted in such a way that it will bring real change to our youngsters.
Ma'am, thank you for your information. I think we will make these DVDs. We will avail them in the libraries, and I think they will be titled "You as well as the cultural practices" and so on. I'm sure people will come around and take out those kind of DVDs and learn out of this thing. It's a pilot program, but it will, all these DVDs, will make sure we have them in museums and in libraries.
And please don't just put them in these, in only the libraries and museums. Make sure that the schools have them as schools. I don't mean this one, I mean all other information that is likely to bring behavioral change to our children. You make sure that it's available at schools. Yes. And somebody makes a follow-up if they do give learners, you know, a slot or time to watch and interact and talk about these things. Yes.
Ma'am, thank you for your time, and thank you for your information.
Thank you so much. I hope I did bring
some
information that will be valuable.